Rebels begging for rescue. A star-shaped fortress falls in the desert and Macron lands in Kenya with a fading ledger and a heavy heart. Welcome back, you're watching The Global Observer and I urge you to stay right there. We are tracking a seismic shift in the Sahel that is rewriting the book on Black history in real time. In the last 16 days, the world has watched a military masterclass in Mali. The city of Kidal, once a stronghold for those who wanted to tear the country apart, has become a graveyard for foreign interference. While rebels make frantic calls on satellite phones to the United Nations, the Malian army is reclaiming its soil. And as the dust settles in the west, French President Emmanuel Macron is touching down in Nairobi, Kenya today. But don't let the sharp suit fool you. He is a leader whose foundation in Africa are turning to ash. Tonight we'll look at the victory at Labazanga, the fall of a French star, and why the 1.9% is the most desperate number in Paris right now. Imagine you are a landlord who has been collecting rent for 60 years on a house you don't own. Suddenly the true owners change the locks and throw you out. That is the situation for France in Mali today. For years, we were told that Africa's security was a gift from the north. We were told that without French generals, the Sahel would fall into an abyss. But the recapture of Labazanga has shattered that myth. Labazanga sits about 600 kilometers from the capital Bamako. In 2020, the French military built the star-shaped fortress there. The Paris elite called it impregnable. They said it was there to keep terrorists out. But when the Malian forces pulled back the veil this week, they found the ugly truth. Those star-shaped walls weren't a shield for the people. They were a sanctuary for the very groups France claimed to be fighting. The victory at Labazanga was a symbolic exorcism. The Malian armed forces, standing side by side with their brothers from the AS alliance, Burkina Faso and Niger, didn't just retake a border post, they tore down a moment of colonial failure. When a group stops filming victory videos and starts dialing the UN for a rescue, you know the war on the ground is already won. For our brothers and sisters in the Black American diaspora, this feels familiar. It is like the moment the lion stops being the character in the hunter's story and starts writing his own. It is the spirit of the civil rights marches, where every inch of dignity had to be wrestled from the hands of those who benefited from our silence. As the tricolor flag of France fades into history, the gold, green, and red of Mali now roars over the battlement. This is the reality of the alliance of the Sahel states. One battlefield, three flags, and one resolve, which is African wealth must serve African children. But while Mali celebrates a different kind of shadow, is landing in the lush highlands of Nairobi. Why is the leader of a fading empire rushing to East Africa? Why is Macron smiling for the cameras with President William Ruto while his influence in West Africa is bleeding out? The answer is 1.9%. The French government tells the world that Africa only accounts for 1.9% of its trade. They want you to think that Africa is a charity case. But look at the minerals. Look at the lithium that powers the electric cars in Lyon. Look at the uranium that keeps the lights on in Paris. Africa provides 15% of France's strategic minerals and 11% of its oil and gas. Without the veins of this continent, the heart of the French economy would stop beating. Macron is not in Nairobi for a partnership of equals. He is in there because the doors in Bamako, Ouagadougou, and Niamey have been bolted shut. He is there because the old contracts signed in the dark and written in blood are being torn up. Leaders like Captain Ibrahim Traore are showing that a nation's resources are a sacred trust, not a colonial diary. Consider the Gulaminar lithium project when the Malian government raised the stakes to 30%. The Western companies called it unviable. But for the people of Mali, it was the first time the project became truly viable for them. The state now writes the contracts, the state collects the rent. This is the economic blueprint of a revolution. The road to this freedom is not a straight line. It is a journey like the one a Malian journalist had to take recently. Dragged from his home in Kidal, he had to flee through 3 different countries just to find a safe way back to his own capital. The question is why? Because the liberators from the West had turned the roads into corridors of fear. His journey is a metaphor for the continent, and sometimes we must travel the hardest path just to find our way home. But today, dear viewers, the AES corridor is open. The physical connection between these 3 nations is the heartbeat of the new era. But sovereignty comes with a target on its back. The manufactured outrage you see on Western TV isn't new. It is a weapon. They won't show you the Kidal victory. They will show you images of distress to justify another intervention. They want you to believe Mali is failing so they can bring back the days when guns were traded for gold. They tell you that you are small while you are standing tall. They tell you that you are poor while you are sitting on the minerals of the next century. But the people of the Sahel have made a choice. They would rather eat one meal in freedom than feast in chains. For the elders watching in Atlanta, Chicago, or Detroit, Traore and Goita evoke the memory of those who stood unbowed. They are a reminder that the price of dignity is paid in defiance. The world predicted an abyss, but Mali swallowed the abyss. The era of the cautionary tale is over. Africa is no longer a warning to the world, it is becoming a light. The Kidal victory ensures that children in Bamako can dream in their own language without the shadow of a foreign drone. The walls built to keep us in have been torn down, and we are using the bricks to build a new world. The chandelier may be dimming in the convention centers of Nairobi, but the sun is rising over the Sahel. The monologue of the outsider has been interrupted by the rhythmic march of a generation that refuses to ask for permission to be free. The lion is no longer the subject of the hunter's story. He is the author of the future. Thank you for joining us for this vital chapter of our shared history. We tell these stories to keep the flame of dignity burning. If this message moved you, stay with us as we document the narrative of a continent that is finally standing tall. This is the Global Observer.